Hey everyone, and welcome to the Mutant Menace. I'm Cody, and today it's time for some Let's Talk About X, the segment where we get to take a look at some of the X books that came out just this week. So let's dive right in. The first book we're going to talk about today is Uncanny X-Men, issue number 16, which was written by Matt Rosenberg, with art by Salvador Larroca, colors by Guru EFX, and it was lettered by Virtual Calligraphy's Joe Caramagna. So this was another strong issue. It gave me a lot of things I like. It gave me more Cyclops standing up to Steve Rogers with some excellent lines and comebacks. It gave us a reason for Scott keeping Logan so close, potentially kind of closer than he's keeping Alex, and it's because Logan keeps him level, keeps him balanced. Logan doesn't even really like him or trust him, and Scott needs that. He needs somebody there that's going to bounce off of him. So I liked that he addressed that in that conversation he had with Alex, that conversation between brothers of what's really going on, getting into the nitty-gritty of this team dynamic. And speaking of the team dynamic, a huge thing that happens in this issue is Cyclops stepping down as leader of the team, deciding to make it more of a democracy. Everybody votes. Everybody has a voice to use in what they do next and how they strategize and how they're going to work on this. And I thought that was great. I think it's a great approach on Rosenberg's part to kind of dismantle that leader aspect entirely and say this is a team, it's a family. We've all known this as X-Men readers, as X-Men fans, but let's start pretending like that matters. Let's start pretending that it's not such a rigid team system, that it is a family dynamic, that it's a house of X, you might say. Getting ahead of ourselves, I know. We also get a really fun battle with a super classic Brotherhood lineup. You have Avalanche is there, Pyro's there, Toad is there, Magneto's there, even though we find out that that's not exactly what's going on. Another huge thing that happens in this issue is that Rain Sinclair decides to quit the team. She decides she wants to go live a normal life, which, good luck, you're an X-Man. Once an X-Man, always an X-Man, let's be honest. So she goes to live a normal life at the end of the issue. Spoiler alert! You should know by now. So at the end of the issue, we find out that Rain is dead. But I call bullshit. It happened off panel. We're hearing it from Danny, who shares that rapport with her ever since they were younger, with Danny being closer to animal spirits, yada yada yada. Another thing we get in this issue is pretty much Juggernaut at the end of this fight effectively joining the X-Men, which I thought was great. I love this guy. Something that bugged me was during the fight with Juggernaut, Karma is communicating with him, but isn't the whole point of his big doofy helmet to keep psychic influence out? So that was kind of nitpicky, but it did bug me a tiny bit, just a little. Speaking of things that bugged me, this book is still suffering from some pacing issues. The way that Rosenberg and Larroca have set up the flow of storytelling is that often you'll see panels and pages of the team communicating in their headquarters, and on the adjacent page, you'll have another scene happening elsewhere, and it really gives you the feel, quite effectively, it gives you the feel that these things are happening simultaneously for the most part. But in this issue, we have that going on. We have Juggernaut attacking these men, these soldiers, and we have our team talking about their team dynamics and who the leader is going to be and how leadership should work. And these things you kind of get a feel are happening at the same time. But then the sequences converge, and we see our full team there, and they've arrived on the scene to confront Juggernaut and this new Brotherhood. And then on the adjacent page of that, we see Cyclops talking to Rain. And this is the scene where Rain is quitting. And we're still kind of in the groove, in the vibe of these things happening at the same time. But this one's totally not. The Rain and Cyclops thing happened before the battle, and it's written into the story for Cyclops to literally just be zoning out. They get there and he's zoning out, and they're like, hey, Earth to Scott. And he's like, sorry, mine wandered a bit, but I'm here now. Let's do this. And it's what? Why are you zoning out reflecting on this? That's such a weird, hokey way of working in a flashback that totally didn't need to be a flashback. That sequence could have happened right before, or probably right after the team voted on who the leader should be and how that should work. We could have easily had that sequence between Scott and Rain, and we didn't have to have that awkward flashback. I'm not sure that served the story. It literally was a chop for me. I had to stop and think about this. That was awkward. It felt awkward. So that was something that kind of bugged me about the writing. To talk about the art, I still feel a little bit unaffected by it, a little bit cold on it, but I feel like the action sequences in this issue are actually better. I was able to follow along with it. The paneling made sense in my head. Overall, a good issue that keeps with Rosenberg's suspenseful theme, edge of your seat finish, just like so many of the other issues in this book. I'm really excited. I'm excited to see where this goes. Before we move on to the next book, I just want to remind you guys to like and subscribe to my channel. I love to talk about X-Men. I hate every minute that I'm not talking about X-Men, so make sure you come back to do it with me because, like Ezra Miller's Flash, I need friends. The next book we're going to talk about is Age of X-Men, NextGen, issue number 3, written by Ed Brisson, with art by Marcus To. It was colored by Jason Keith, and it was lettered by Virtual Calligraphy's Clayton Cowles. I love this book. What I love about this issue in particular is that it's all about trust and distrust, and what happens when trust starts to fall apart. Rockslide has been on his own quest as part of the historian unit of this academy to find out the truth of the Life Seed. What happened to it in the past that made everything the way it is? There's no texts about it. He's looked through everything. He's looked through the library. He can't find it. And that's when Madison Jeffries just produces this book that has the answers, just conveniently. And this leads Rockslide to not only start to distrust the system, but distrust himself, lose trust in himself. Like, did I just overlook this? Am I going crazy? Am I seeing the things I want to see because I'm believing all of this? And that is fascinating to see him kind of doubting himself, and Glob being like, no, listen, it's true. What I'm telling you is true. This whole world is a fabrication. Just like he was telling Armor that he convinced Hisako of all of this. And Hisako herself has been on this quest to track down Anole and get answers from Anole about what he's been up to, which leads Pixie to start distrusting Hisako. And simultaneously, we have our class learning about the dangers of Unveil, which is like this drug that's making its rounds in like the youth, and it's starting to pick up out on the streets. And Unveil is so dangerous and blah, 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 blah. And what we know of Unveil is that it's helping them discover the truth. So this is a direct threat to the entire Age of X-Men universe, and now it's starting to reach the kids. So on top of Pixie's distrust for how weird Hisako's been acting, it turns out that weird behavior is one of the symptoms of Unveil. So she's on this whole trip thinking that her friend is a drug addict. She's hunting down Hisako, who's hunting down Anole, and Glob is making connections with Rockslide, who's hunting down teachers and information. It's all about the quest for information, and these kids are out here learning it. The youth is learning it. It's an academy environment, and they're the ones who are going to change the world. And I think that's so powerful. That's a revolution right there. This book is just great. All of this is emphasized by Marcus To's beautiful artwork. His lines are so clean. The colors are popping. This is just my favorite Age of X-Men book for all these reasons. I love the fact that we were left last issue with this plot to blow up the library, and it's a sinister undercurrent in this issue. It's not spoken about. I don't even know if it's spoken about at all in this issue, but we as the reader know that that's happening. It's a dramatic irony that is working in this book's favor. I love it. I love it. I love it. The next book we're going to talk about is The Amazing Nightcrawler, issue number 3. It was written by Seanan McGuire, with art by Juan Frigeri. The colors are by Dono Sanchez Almara, and it was lettered by Travis Lanham of Virtual Calligraphy. Where NextGen concerns itself with issues of trust, this book concerns itself with issues of the bonds we share with the people around us, both familial or romantic, bonds of blood, bonds of love, bonds of friendship. This book has all of that in spades. It takes a look at what it means to have connections with people and the dangers that accompany that, especially in a world where that very thing has been forbidden, where it's banned. Family is something this book has been exploring since the first issue, particularly with the Stepford Cuckoos and the bond they share as a family and how disgusted everybody is by that. And we even get a hint of like the value of trust when they decide to keep Nightcrawler and Megan secret, because they know about the importance of trust in a system that is just going to kick you to the curb as soon as that secret is exposed, the secret of your blood. And even though the Cuckoos don't really keep their familial situation a secret, it's still taboo and they keep it hush-hush. They don't talk about it very much. The question of family is pushed even further with the revelation that Nightcrawler receives from Mystique that he might have a daughter or somebody that looks a lot like him, a young girl named Tania Jean, and he's wondering what this all means, and he has to find her. He has to do it, and he tells Megan that he wants her to be part of it because they trust each other. That trust was deepened even further in the last issue. After they had that romantic tryst where they slept together, they also went to that secret party, the masquerade ball, where everyone was at risk, so everyone was safe, once again tightening the importance of bonds and of trust in this society. I'm 100% on board with this book. It reads very much like a soap opera, like the X-Men soap opera goodness that I thrive on, that I go to it for. Seanan McGuire is delivering in spades here. It's been a great time. I love the characterization, particularly of Nightcrawler. I love that he's this famous man who's made a living based off of being kind of iconic, kind of the vision of what you can become in this universe. And he's struggling right now between upholding that and being that role model, that icon, versus pursuing maybe a true happiness, a deeper happiness that could take him to a happier place. But the road is incredibly dangerous to get there. following his love for Megan and his love for this young girl who he doesn't even know, but knows must be family, must be tied to him. The bonds are what drives people in this book. Our characters are driven by their bonds with each other, and that is just fantastic in a world where that very thing is taboo. Like I said, this book gets to the heart of that, what romance can do to you, what love can do to you, not just romantic or sexual, but love between family members. I'm very, very excited by this book. The art is very strong. Juan Frigeri's lines are very clean. There's a great sequence in here that cracked me up where they're doing a mall tour, like, to make the best out of their quest for Nightcrawler's family member. And they're doing this press tour, and Magma's just, like, super salty about all of it. And they're both smiling for the cameras, and she's just like, I'm gonna set you on fire. And Nightcrawler's like, play nice. I think that whole sequence was really funny, and it really emphasizes Seanan McGuire's wit, her super witty writing, as well as Juan Frigeri's gift for communicating that. It's really a great moment that really just made me laugh. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you want to be on top of what X books are coming out so you can be prepared to come and talk about them with me, please make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I do X pulls every week right before a new comic book day, so you know what to look for when you head into the shops. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Love me, this book is still suffering for some pacing issues.